Hello, everyone. It's a little weird. I hope you all had a really good spring break. I know most of our spring breaks didn't turn out exactly how we imagined them. So hopefully you stayed in and enjoyed some time with your family and FaceTiming your friends and got some stuff done. Um, and it's a little weird not to be back today. It's weird to not see you guys, but we have to do what we have to do to keep this virus from spreading further and to keep ourselves safe. So please stay home. Please wash your hands a lot. And if we all do the things that we're asked to do, we'll be back together in no time. As for what's going to happen with class, today's Cyber Day like we normally do, as if it had snowed or something like that. So Classroom has your instructions on it, including watching this presentation and taking notes. Your notes are required. That's actually your assignment that's due, is that you take a picture of the handwritten notes you took and you submit those online. And then watch your emails and Google Classroom on Wednesday to see what else is planned. As soon as I have answers for you, I will let you know. I know that Mrs. Denegri is working with Dr. Floyd, our superintendent, to work out what's going to happen for us the next couple weeks and what the next few weeks are going to look like for us. So be patient with us. We're still trying to figure this all out. Hopefully you like the little video that I'm doing. These are the notes we would have done in class together, at least the first half of them, and then we'll do the rest as we have to over our next couple weeks at home. So please email me, message me on Classroom if you have any questions, let me know. If you're worried about something, please let me know. I know the news is a lot right now, and there's a lot of stuff on social media, and it can be a little scary, but we don't need to be scared. We need to, like I said, do what's asked, keep our hands really clean, stay home, and pray, and that's the best we can do. Please pray, especially for our healthcare workers who don't get to go home, who don't get to stay away from all of this, who are treating people on the front lines, as well as pray for our priests. They, like us teachers, have been handed something that's not in their job description and something they're having to figure out. And they're doing a great job, but keep them in your prayers because this is tough for them, just as it's tough for us. So any questions, just shoot me an email, let me know. I'll be on my email, I'll be on my computer because I'm working from home too, and I'll get all your questions answered. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So make sure you have your notebook out and you are taking notes. Remember that you need to have handwritten your notes and you need to upload a picture of those to Google Classroom by Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So before you check into your classes on Wednesday, you need to have these notes uploaded and turned in. So please watch the whole thing. I will be looking at your notes. So we're going to be talking about the resurrection today, or at least beginning to talk about the resurrection. We read those stories right before we left for break. So we read the 4 different stories of the resurrection. Today we're going to go through those, talk a little bit more about them, and then really focus in on some of the theories for why the resurrection is not a real historical event. We'll look at some of the things people have come up with over the last 2,000 years against the resurrection, and then we will try to disprove those theories and then talk about why the resurrection is a real and historical event. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to do a little bit of a journal. So this is a quote from Pope St. John Paul II. He says, "Do not abandon yourselves to despair. We are the Easter people, and hallelujah is our song." So just go ahead and pause the video for a second and take as long as you need to write 3 sentences. What does Pope St. John Paul II mean in this quote? And do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think he's trying to say? And do you agree with it or not? So go ahead and pause our video, take a couple minutes, answer the question, just right there in your notebook underneath the title, and then you can play the video when you're done and keep going. Okay, so now that you've written your journal, we're going to go through the four accounts of the resurrection, and we're going to look at some of the things they have in common. Now, the resurrection is one of a handful of stories that all 4 gospel accounts have. So that means it's really important. Like I said, it's just one of a few stories that every single gospel writer chooses to record. So it tells you how important it is that everyone has to include it. The accounts are also really similar. You saw that when you read them before spring break. They all have really similar details, and that helps us see that these authors are working with a real story, working with something that actually happened in history. So the first thing all accounts share is that there's always women, and they always discover the empty tomb. Now, it would have been the woman's job to go and prepare the body for burial. And remember, with his death, Christ died right before the sun went down on Friday, so right before the Sabbath began. But it's also a solemn Sabbath because it was Passover. So they're being extra strict with the rules about not working on the Sabbath. So the women are waiting until daybreak on Sunday for the Sabbath to end, and they're able to go to the tomb and finish preparing his body. They kind of quick rubbed it down with some spices and oils and wrapped it, and now they're going to go finish it, or finish prepping the body. So it's always women who are going because that would be their job. But they always find the empty tomb when they get there. And that's going to be something, as we look at some of the theories, it's really going to be a stumbling block, is the empty tomb. Where's the body? What's happened to him? Why did that body never surface? The second thing that happens is angels always proclaim that Jesus is alive. So they always encounter an angel, and maybe it's one, maybe it's two, but this angel always proclaims to them that Christ is alive. And they kind of almost act like, women, Jesus told you that he was going to rise. Why are you even here? That's our scripture verse for this chapter, is why do you seek the living one among the dead? So why are you here? He's alive and he's gone before you. And they tell the women to go and tell the other disciples. Thirdly, Jesus always reveals himself specifically to Mary Magdalene. We call Mary Magdalene the apostle to the apostles. So she is the one that's sent forth to tell the other apostles that Christ is risen. And I just think this is so cool. People like to say Christianity and religion keep women down and they oppress women, but that's not true. Christ appears first to women. He reveals himself to Mary Magdalene, and he sends Mary towards James and John and Peter and all of them to tell them about the resurrection. So he really makes a woman the first proclaimer of the resurrection. He makes her very important in the history of Christianity. And then lastly, Jesus always charges the disciples with carrying on his mission. So at some point in the resurrection accounts, he appears to his disciples, and he always gives them this task of finishing his mission. So what he has done is not over, what he has done is not complete, but it's time now for the apostles to take on his mission and to tell them about what they've seen and what they've encountered with him. So he always sends them forth on mission. And we can see the apostles changed. They go from men who were scared, who were hiding at the Passion, who were worried that they were the next to die. They were worried that they were going to be on Rome's list next, and they were going to get crucified too. To men who are standing up and preaching and putting themselves back into Rome's view, putting themselves in front of the Jews, in front of the Romans, and proclaiming Christ raised from the dead. So something about encountering Christ has changed them, and they go out and tell others about him. Okay, the only part of this thing I need you to write down is what's in red. This is really important. The rest isn't, or isn't important for you to write down, but write down what's in the red on this slide. So this is about women, and it's really interesting that it's women who discover the empty tomb. Because women in the ancient world, because of the different prejudices and different things at the time, women were not considered reliable witnesses. And so what that means is if a woman witnessed somebody murdered and she was the only witness to the murder, that person's going to get away with that crime because they weren't considered reliable. So think about it. If you were going to make up this crazy story and you were going to make up that Christ is raised from the dead and that, his tomb is empty and he isn't dead anymore, but he's alive and we've seen him, why would you choose women to be the witnesses if they're not reliable? The answer is you wouldn't. You would choose Peter and James and John, and you would choose these other people. You would choose men to witness the resurrection. And kind of added to that, you would choose somebody to just plain witness the resurrection. Nobody actually sees Christ raised from the dead in the Gospels. They always just find the empty tomb. So wouldn't you make up some story that Peter or James or John or whoever, maybe John, is at the tomb and sees Christ sit up and unwrap the bandages or something like that? Why would you make it up the way that it's written? But most importantly, they would never have made up that women are the witnesses to the resurrection. It would have been men they chose. So that gives us a good indication that this is a true story. The fact that they record women as the witnesses to the empty tomb, the witnesses to the resurrection, it gives us a really good indication that it's actually probably a true story. Okay, so we're actually going to switch gears for a second, and we're going to switch shots, and we are going to do some drawing, and we're going to talk about the 7 theories against the resurrection, and then we're going to disprove each one of those theories.